talk to you about what does adrenals and what do genetics have to do with adrenal fatigue. I get the question a lot, and I ask the question a lot because people that I see that have been suffering with an adrenal fatigue problem have typically had a saliva test, and they say they have stage 3 or stage 4 adrenal fatigue, or they ask their doctor to give them an adrenal test, and the doctor says, get out of the office because there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue. Or they have had an ACTH test and the test is negative, so they don't have Addison's. So the doctor says there's no such thing as a fatigue problem, even though there is an insufficiency problem when we do a stimulation test. If the gland secretes enough hormones to mount a response, we don't call it a fatigue problem. And that's true. I mean, if you send a message from the brain, the pituitary in way of ACTH, and the adrenals respond, they are not exhausted, they are not fatigued. However, it's wrong to assume that everything is going right in terms of, is the pituitary even sending a signal? That's assuming that you do have good, proper pituitary feedback and ACTH levels. Is the adrenal glands producing an adequate amount of hormone throughout different times of the day, because it's based on a circadian rhythm? Is there a feedback problem where the pituitary is secreting too much or not secreting enough? Are the cells listening? Are there receptor sites for the unbound hormone to be able to get into the cell? Is there enough unbound hormone, or is there too much bound hormone where there's not enough bound hormone? How well are you clearing out these hormones? Is there a microbiome issue to be able to convert these hormones? Do you have the adequate nutrients to be able to make these hormones? Is there a genetic susceptibility in all of this? So just because you don't have an adrenal insufficiency or you don't have Addison's disease doesn't necessarily mean you don't have an HPA axis dysfunction, an adrenal gland concern, and more importantly, the body is not adequately handling stress in the way that it should. So what is the genetic connection? Because when I talk to people and they've had their saliva test and they're on bioidentical hormones, they're no longer handling their stressors very well, and they crash in the middle of the day, they're taking adrenal gland supplements, they've had the saliva test, and they're still not getting better, then what I start with is the genetic test, because they're missing out on that huge, important piece of the puzzle. And I'm going to use this video to explain exactly why we don't accept any clients that haven't had a genetic test. And if they want to work with me, we insist, in fact, we make it mandatory that we do have a genetic test. So what I want to do is I want to explain two problems, though. There's two major problems that we find with people that have an adrenal problem, an adrenal-based problem, and people that don't understand the genetic component. Number one is that, like I just mentioned, in the traditional medical model, in the research-based model, in the peer-reviewed journals, there is no such thing as, even in the medical schools, there is no such thing as an adrenal fatigue problem. We just mentioned that there's an insufficiency, an autoimmune problem, but they don't look at all the things that I just mentioned, the feedback loops, the quality of the hormone, the pituitary integrity, the ability to convert unavailable hormones into available hormones. Is there a bound component or is there an unbound component? How well are you clearing out these hormones? How well is the nutrients to be able to make these hormones, and the genetic component to be able to support these things? If that doesn't register to the MD or the traditional allopathic algorithm, they don't know that it exists. Like if a tree falls in a forest, does anyone know it's out there? And unfortunately, what has happened is there's this dogmatic attitude that if you don't have an insufficiency problem, then you're crazy. You need to be put on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications, but there's no such thing as an adrenal fatigue problem. That's the first problem. So when we work with clients, we tell them there is absolutely a phenomena of an HPA axis dysfunction and a dysregulation of the quality of the hormone and the impact that your body's able to deal with stress. We believe you. We know you're not handling your stress as well as you should. We know that you're not able to have the energy that you need. We know that your electrolytes are in balance. We know that you're not making energy at the level that you should be, and we know that this is not being addressed. Number two is genetic testing is just not taught. It's not understood. It's not related to your chief complaints. It looks at a major, like in the medical model, it's what's the cancer gene? What is the cardiovascular gene? As if there would be one gene that would specifically become a metabolic problem for a series of reactions. And you got to look at it as a system. When there's an orchestra playing, the conductor can mess things up, but so can each orchestrated section, and you have a dysregulated music. Very seldom is it just one part of the band that's screwing up, because they all have to communicate perfectly together. So that's the first thing. The second thing is MTHFR is just the only thing that is looked at. And when that's the case, the problem is that they're not understanding how all of these genetic components can relate to your adrenal problem. But the reality is both are very real. So every adrenal fatigue sufferer that we look at needs a genetic test. Why do they need genetic tests? Because they need to look at something different. I've talked to so many of you people, and I ask you, have you done a lot? Oh yeah, I've done everything. And tell me about your genetic test. And then they don't tell me, well, I didn't do that. Most people haven't done it, or they have done it and it was just an MTHFR test, or they've done a 23andMe and they tell me that their family is from Europe and there's percentage of this, percentage of that, but they haven't looked at the biochemistry. They haven't looked at the methylation. They're looking for answers, and this is a road that we can go down. We can uncover certain rocks and look underneath them and really get a game plan as to what your body is not doing that's causing it to be exhausted and not producing energy. And what we do in the process is we really unlock that hidden health mystery. And when we provide you with definitive answers, we can pinpoint exactly what's not working. And most importantly, we can customize a recovery program that's based on, so people will ask me, what's your recovery program based on? It's based on your genetics. It's based on your environmental triggers. It's based on your lifestyle. It's based on the things that are causing you stressors. It's based on what type of nutritional protocol is going to support you, what kind of dietary protocol is going to support you, what kind of supplementary protocol is going to support you. So it's very, very customized. And I've put this down with every single adrenal awakening program I do. With my adrenal fatigue practice, the genetic variation assessment is my secret weapon, because it provides me with the perfect storm information to customize your adrenal fatigue recovery plan. And we have a pyramid. Dr. Thomas and I have created a priority system, and the priority system goes much deeper than the adrenals. It goes much deeper than MTHFR. It goes into inflammation control. It goes into different genetic types. And suffice it to say, when we work you up and understand what's going on in your body, we're able to customize a recovery program. So what I wanted to do was talk to you about what do the adrenals do and why do we need to understand the genetic component. Number one, they settle down inflammation. That's the most important. Number two, they maintain your fluid balance. And number three, they provide energy. All things that are regulated by your enzymes, your DNA, by your methylation cycles. And so if your body does have some genetic susceptibilities and these enzymes aren't repairing properly, and you have exposures to pathogens and toxins and stressors and chemicals, then you're going to have an imbalance between inflammation and antioxidants, and you're going to have an adrenal problem. It also has to make sure that it maintains fluid balance, electrolyte balance. And so when we run the system, we need minerals and vitamins and nutrients. And if it's running in overtime and your enzymes aren't repairing themselves, you become depleted in minerals, you become very acidic, you may get premature graying of your hairs, you look older than what you really are. We see an epidemic of that, and your adrenals are shriveling up on the vine. It's a genetic component. And then lastly, providing energy. How well do you produce energy? Are you exhausted? Are you relying on coffee and 5-hour energy potions and caffeine and stimulants and nicotine only to have a fool's gold of energy? The genetic component looks at how well does your body produce energy. Is it burning protein and fats? Maybe you didn't become very good at ketogenic, or maybe you need some specific nutrients to be able to detoxify. So you're missing out on these vital things. So when we're able to understand those three things, we're able to understand how your dysregulated HP axis is breaking down, and then we can build it back up together. Over 250 cellular activities require these methylation things, from repairing your cells to making energy to dealing with stress, making neurotransmitters, detoxifying heavy metals, fighting off infections, supporting your immune system, all require proper functioning enzymes. And by testing your DNA, you're going to be able to understand all of that information and customize a recovery program. So I wanted to present that with you guys today. I'm sorry I can't see your questions because I'm doing this through Zoom. If you are watching this through YouTube, then just make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's called Dr. Joel Rosen's Your Adrenal Fix. Also, make sure that you go check out our website at thetruthaboutadrenalfatigue.com. And then also make sure that you DM me or you look at thetruthaboutadrenalfatigue.com/apply, and we can sit down and discuss how to customize a recovery program for you. Hope this was really helpful. Make sure you put your questions in the comment section, and I look forward to ending your adrenal fatigue nightmare. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja, and together we can customize your program and get you back on your feet again. Have an awesome day.